where I can kick things off. So yeah, let's get into it, folks. Welcome everyone. We're excited to get this webinar off the ground. We announced the Kuali Advisor initiative not too long ago, and I have been absolutely blown away by the response. A lot of interest in a new degree audit solution out in the market. So just really pleased to finally get this webinar going and really pleased to meet everybody virtually. So a few housekeeping items. This demo is being recorded. So this webinar, once we're done, I'll send a link to the recording out to everyone who registered for the webinar. So if you'd like to share it with your colleagues, you're more than welcome to do so. Zoom webinars are a little bit different from a regular Zoom meeting. If you look at your Zoom window down at the bottom, there is oh, I'm not seeing it. Um, yeah,
Does it say Q&A or does it, I think it
it
says
normally
Q&A.
does, but
Yeah, I have it on mine. I see
okay,
it.
okay, very good. Oh, it's just my menu. I've got it. So there's a Q&A function.
There
So
you go.
if you have questions, drop them in the Q&A section and I'll field those as we go and some we'll save for the end. And if we don't get to your question, I'll reach out to you directly to make sure that your question is addressed. All right, let's meet the team. My name is Paul Smith. I'm the head of marketing here at Kuali. With me today is Richard Jensen, president, and the founder and creator of the Advisor product, which we'll be sharing today. And Richard will be providing a live demo of our degree audit solution. And our star with us today, Teresa Seymour, the Assistant Vice Chancellor of Distance Learning at Louisiana State University of Alexandria, and she'll be sharing her experience using the Kuali Advisor product. Um, I'll try to get through these slides quickly. We really want to get to the demo and hear from Teresa, but there's a lot of you joining our webinar today who have maybe never heard about Kuali. And Kuali's been a leader in administrative software for higher education for more than 20 years. And we like to say we're building software for the future of higher education. And what this means for us as a company is it's built by higher ed. We partner with our customers. They help us drive the product roadmaps, and they really serve as the foundation for everything that we do. And we do this for higher ed. So, a very mission driven company. Brief history, Kuali was started as the Kuali Foundation in 2004. It was a consortium of universities and colleges who decided they wanted to build their own software for higher education. And that was extremely successful. It really took off, and we had a lot of partners in the foundation. But around 2014, there were some new developments in the world of software. This is when the cloud started showing up. And there was a lot of demand to move from on-prem to cloud-based solutions, to have a dedicated roadmap, and to put more energy and emphasis into product development as well as sales and marketing. So that's when we transitioned from the foundation to Kuali, the company as we know it today. And then what happened in 2024 was real fun. We in the background for a number of years have been working on a new platform, and we launched the Kuali platform and have migrated all of our products onto this Kuali platform. And so this is really serving as the foundation for a new suite of tools that will drive the company for the years to come. Um, Earlier this year, we had some really big, exciting news. Conclusive Systems, which has been one of the big leaders in the world of academic advising, and Richard's company was acquired by Kuali. And now we have partnered up, and it's been a really remarkable marriage. We really cut from the same cloth, culturally, mission driven first, customer first, our dedication to our customers. It's been a lot of fun. Richard and I have been to a few different conferences together already, and we just have a blast showing off our software to everybody that we meet. Um, Quick logo splash. This certainly isn't everybody that we have, but we show this slide just to kind of help you understand that we've got, some of the largest universities out there, institutions like Arizona State University, to teeny tiny colleges like Harvey Mudd that has around 900 students. So we really run the gamut, all different types of institutions. Look to Kuali to help drive their business administration. I'm not going to go through all of this, but when we talk about business administration software, there's a number of different suites that we offer. And so we've been leaders in financial management. With Conclusive, we're bringing over a student information system. We have a complete suite of tools for academic operations and an even bigger suite of tools for research administration. For your emergency managers or folks who work in the security department, we have business continuity planning software. And then finally, for our IT friends, or really any department that needs online forms or workflow automation, we have a no-code drag and drop tool for building online forms and workflow automations, and that's our Kuali Build product. A few kind of fundamentals about our software that we're proud of. Ease of use, everyone says that, but if it's not easy to use, if the software isn't self-evident, then it could be frustrating for a lot of folks. Everything is mobile ready. Accessibility is huge, especially with the federal mandate coming next year. So making sure that we're WCAG 2.2 AA compliant. Continuous delivery. And so we don't drop 800 new features on you once a year. When we've got something new, we roll it out when it's ready. Deep integration with artificial intelligence across our products, and which can be used in a wide variety of ways. And finally, a zero bug policy. And that's not to say that our software doesn't have bugs. It's what that means is when we find a bug, we stop what we're doing and we fix the bug, and then we move on with our product roadmap. So you're not going to have to deal with bugs festering in the background for any duration. When it comes to security and compliance, we check all the boxes. We have our HEC VAT 4, FERPA compliant, of course, and SOC 2 for both our software and for the company. So you can rest assured that everything is secure. And that takes us to Kuali Advisor, the product that we'll be sharing with you all today. So there's a few things that we find. We go out and we meet with people in the world of academic advising. And the big one that we hear all the time is that degree audits are inaccurate and they're really slow to generate, which affects how they're used.
Mhm.
We also hear that this results in students being frustrated because they're operating in a low or hard to get information environment, whether it's what courses do I need or how far along am I in my progress. And that can lead to other issues as well. And then finally, big picture, how is our institution doing as a whole on degree conferral? Are we on track? Are students falling behind? Those are really, really big, complex reports, and they take a very long time to run. And in most institutions, when you get them, they're not always accurate. They need to be massaged or interpreted. So those are kind of the three major issues that we hear from everybody. And what this ultimately leads to is a situation where you've got diminished student outcomes. It's taking students longer to graduate than it should, and they might be graduating with more credits or units than they actually need, which is expensive, it costs them time and money. And so oftentimes you got a lot of kids that might decide to drop out and not finish their degree. So that's the big problem that we're trying to address. Um, what we bring to the table, and Richard and I went back and forth on this, and I said, Richard, what are like the three pillars that make Advisor what it is? And this is what we came up with: accurate instant degree audits for every student and every program, real-time data integration with your student information system, and
Mhm.
then finally, fast and reliable, accurate program completion and reporting, right? Those big meaty reports that we were talking about. And so that's me saying it. Let's get to showing it. And so with that, Richard, I'll hand things over to you. I'll stop sharing and we will get to demo time.
Very good. Let me actually get this share going. And I think you should be seeing it. So I'm going to minimize this. And all right, I think you are actually, Paul, verify for me. Are you seeing the desired screen?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, very good. Paul will be fielding questions, and I actually encourage questions as we go. We probably won't get to everything for everybody, but we will follow up. So front and center in the advisor degree audit system is the idea of very customizable role-based dashboards with very custom widgets. And so this is just one particular layout. I would emphasize right at the outset that in most systems you look at it and immediately think what I see is what I get. In Advisor, that is absolutely not the case. Let me very quickly just change themes, and you'll see that it is a completely different sort of look. That's
Whoop. Did we lose you, Richard? Paul, you're muted.
Thank you. Yeah, we did lose Richard. He'll jump right back in here in a moment. And I'm just going to send him a text message to make sure that he knows that we've lost him.
While we're getting Richard back, I can confirm, and we'll just tell you what the incredible flexibility of this project and this team to brand things that work for our institution. That's been our experience. And I think he's going to show you actually something that they built for us just below it. So they were able to make an entire custom widget for us that helped us track our QEP, our quality enhancement plan for accreditation, alongside our degree requirements. We didn't want to lose the degree requirements. We didn't want to make them muddy or get students kind of off track, but they just, in a very short time, I was so amazed, were able to set that up for us. Richard, are you back?
He's going to wind his way back, and I have a feeling we might flip-flop the two of you and get to your presentation here, but we do have a question.
Okay.
This is from Bill, and he's wondering if you've used DegreeWorks or know of DegreeWorks, and if so, how does it compare to DegreeWorks?
So I personally have not dealt with DegreeWorks, but I'll tell you, when we actually adopted this product back in 2015. Our CIO at the time, who was one of the smartest men I've ever met in my life, he's in a different position now, but he went through DegreeWorks. We actually are an Aleutian school. We have their Power Campus product, which is kind of a baby sister to Banner because we're a smaller school. We could not, despite spending multiple thousands of dollars in training and sending people to school to learn SQL and do all kinds of things, we could not make the degree audit system that came with Aleutian work with our complex degrees. I don't know about your campuses, but on our campus, faculty love to build in multiple concentrations or options, or you can take this class or this class. And so we have all these different variations that will all build up and meet the parameters of the requirement for the degree. Advisor is the only system we've been able to find that does that beautifully. We have spent a lot of time with Workday. We are not going to be a Workday product right now, but spent a lot of time with that system. And our advising staff loved the way it looked. They could not, in our setup, get accurate degrees across the board, degree audits across the board. If you want me to switch, Paul, and jump in, I'll be glad to do that.
Yeah, I'll bring your presentation up. Just kind of following up that thought, though. I mean, one of the things that I hear from a lot of folks is for the most part, other degree audit solutions are pretty good, but they're not like you have to sort of interpret the result or massage the result when it's done. And
Right.
so, that presents a problem in terms of can we trust this, right? And be able to look the student in the eye and say, this is absolutely, correct. But also that little bit of time changes how we use our degree audit system and how
Right.
we interact with it, how it informs the university or college, and then how it informs the student as well. All right. Richard's getting back online. Yeah, I got a text from him. He's working it out. And
Okay.
what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to share again um, my browser, and we will leave that one. And then we will, Zoom is covering my tabs. We will go over to your presentation, go to the beginning, and I will hit the share button. Okay.
Okay, and you can go ahead and go to the next. As they've said, my name is Teresa Seymour. I've actually been at LSU of Alexandria for over 30 years. I've been in a lot of different offices. I was the registrar. I've worked with financial aid and advising. I'm currently leading our distance learning operation because that has become a very big part of what we do. LSUA is a baccalaureate degree institution with just under 8,000 students. And to give you some kind of context there, that's very small compared to some of your schools, but we've doubled our population just in the last 4 years. And when you're a small school with people wearing a lot of hats, that's a lot of growth. So a key strategy for kind of handling that growth was adopting Advisor. And as I said earlier, we adopted it in 2015. We were just getting our online programs kind of up and running, and then things started exploding. So our enrollment has increased over 190% since 2015, and our degree conferrals have increased over 300% since 2015. We have a lot of transfer students, so I'm not sure about your campuses. If everybody came in as a first-time freshman with no prior credits, degree audits would be a piece of cake. But they're coming with all this dual enrollment credit. They're coming with transfer credit. We have students sometimes with 10 and 12 transcripts, and making sure they get credit for the things they've truly earned that meet our learning outcomes is important in their degree completion. So if you'll go to the next slide, please, Paul. So the old way we used to do this was from an Excel spreadsheet. Every degree had its own page that looked very much like this. The advisors in the faculty loved it if they had been here for a while because they were completely familiar with it. They knew where they had to write stuff. The problem was they had to be manually updated. Even when we went to digital copies on the shared drive, they still had to be manually updated every time students completed classes or if they dropped or withdrew. It was very manual to have the meetings with students or email them what classes they needed to take and where it would slot on their audit. Students would lose their copy and want another one. The sheets don't show the elective options, so students can see kind of that there's blank spaces or just ENGL, for example, but it doesn't tell them what they can take to fill in all those spots. There's no kind of drop-down list or check off. And then it was very challenging if we changed advisors or if the student changed their major, what was counted, if a course override was approved, that was challenging. So what were the wins for our faculty and professional advisors? One was Richard mentioned when he was on earlier how incredibly flexible the system is. They can brand it to anything. We actually don't call ours advisor. It's a little funny why. We call it degree navigator because of the leadership that was in charge at the time in faculty senate being concerned that we were going to take away their jobs. Now they would love for professional advisors to have all the students, but back at the time, this was a more appropriate way for us to kind of brand this. All the degree requirements were built straight from the catalog. Um, Richard's team did an amazing job of supporting us in doing that. It's amazing that all options are visible with links to course titles and even links to course descriptions and prereqs, all from right there. And if you do link outside to any of those things, when you come back to the tab, you're exactly in the same place you were before. So you don't get lost in all these rabbit trails trying to figure out how to get back to where you were. I love that it shows what are the courses the student has completed that are not being applied to the degree. It's right there at the bottom of the audit. It allows advisors to see if there's going to be any course subs or anything that are going to be needed. Course substitutions that are approved actually show the link and show the date and time, who put it in and when. Everything has a green check or a red X. It couldn't be more obvious you've met this or you haven't. several ways to navigate through it. You can display it in different ways so faculty can kind of meet their own preferences. And the big thing it tracks also, we have some non-course related requirements. So in our 120 credit hour bachelor's degree, for certain degrees, a certain number of credit hours have to be at the upper level. On an Excel spreadsheet, that was all manual. In Advisor, it actually is one of the statements at the top that has a check mark, and it says you need 45 credits at the upper level. You still need 21 of these credits. So it gives them constant updates that changes as they schedule classes and complete classes. Next slide, Paul. Student wins, things that the students love about it. They can view on demand anytime, day or night. It is updated to our system. Now, we could do live updates. We have opted to do nightly updates because we have so many changes in our system, but that was a personal decision that we made. But any staff member that has the certain permissions can do instant updates on the audit. So if we're advising students and they're actually registering while we're talking to them, we can update that instantly so they can see it. Pulls grades and information straight from our transcript, so it matches. There's not any questions. Students can run what if scenarios. If I change my major, how many of these classes are going to apply? And not only does it show in the audit, it shows it in the graph. If I change my major to psychology, I'm 35% complete. If I change my major to business, I'm 46% complete. So you can start seeing that and they can make their decisions appropriately.
I
Most,
just have to share that my daughter recently changed her major and
Mhm.
it was a whole thing. I think she had
Yes.
2 or 3 meetings with her advisor. There were so many questions and complications. And in the end, she got the change through, but we're still figuring out like what the rest of her course journey will look like. So that feature alone, I think would have made a big difference in her decision-making process.
And what we found initially before students knew about it, and I'm sure others have this, students would change 2 or 3 times before we had advisor. They would change them. Oh, I didn't realize it was going to make me take more classes. And so then they would change it to something else. This answers the question I get most often from students is what's my fastest path to a degree? And they can actually run just a few clicks. They can run that. They can see what that will be, and they can decide if that's appropriate. We also have been able, with Richard's team's help, and they're incredibly helpful, to insert some pop-up windows and memos and things when they get to a certain point, a certain number of credits earned, they start getting notices. You're close to graduation. You need to apply for graduation, and here's the link, and here's how to do it. We can customize any message on the screen, give them links to if you have questions about how this displays. Another one I'll throw out here since Richard's not back that made a big difference for us. I mentioned earlier the upper level classes that are a requirement. What Dana was able to do for us is position it so that once they had earned a certain number of credits, if they still needed 15 hours of upper level classes and all they had left in their audit was free electives, it would not slot in the correct slot as a free elective unless it met the upper level requirement. So what would happen is students would call and say, and I even had advisors call initially, they just need a free elective. Why can't they take business 1001? But if you look at the top of the audit, it explained why you couldn't. And the fact that it prevented that from slotting gave us that early alert to say, you don't need to pay for this class. It's not going to help you graduate. Those are really cool. Let's see what the next slide says.
Before we move on,
Okay.
I'm just curious about student reaction. Oh, there's Richard. Welcome back, Richard.
Yeah,
Yep.
nothing like hotel internet problems.
This is on me. This is the marketing guy that scheduled the webinar while we're at a conference. So apologies, Richard. Glad you could make it back on. We decided to flip-flop. Teresa's going through her portion now, and then you can do the demo
Excellent,
again.
excellent.
But I was just asking Teresa, have you heard or do you know of like how do students react to this?
So new students actually just learn it as they come in, and they just assume this is what everybody does. They don't. What we were so surprised about when we first adopted it was how quickly they adapted, how quickly they learned. Many of the students actually were into this and using it before their faculty advisors were. And the faculty advisors were like, I haven't learned that yet. I'm not going to use that. Don't talk to me about that. And they're like, but no, it shows all the things that I have. And they were able to correct him in a couple of cases. They were able to say, I don't think that's right. This is what the system's telling me. It's so accurate that our registrar's office, who used to do manual graduation checkouts on every single student, now says, we will not certify you for graduation until Degree Navigator shows you are 100% complete.
Yeah.
So having that ability to have that out there and as a kind of a tool for the students to use, and then the advisors are, nothing gets missed anymore. We don't have students in the semester of graduation going, oh, but you didn't take such and such a class. It was overlooked. We don't have any of those issues anymore. It's just
Yeah.
right.
That's so great. Now, I recall from our previous conversation that you're not using this feature yet, but Richard shared something with me that just about blew my socks off. And that was advisors' ability to connect live to the student schedule. And when their window opens for registration, it will show them not only sections that are available, right? So it's only showing them the sections that have open seats, but it's only showing them sections that they've met all the requirements for and that are on their program plan. And that just makes it so much smaller and simpler and easier for them to make those decisions, as opposed to what I experienced when I was in college, and then I ended up
Right.
graduating with like 20 more units than I needed. So, yeah, maybe Richard
Well,
can talk more about that.
and that is definitely where we want to go. We were under a mandate, I'll say, to change our student information system. And so we didn't want to do a deeper integration or take staff time to do an integration with something that was going to be going away very soon. Um, that was an 18-month process to which we currently are not going to move to that new one. So we may go back and revisit
Yeah.
doing that integration. If students could register from their audit, that would be absolutely the next step. That would be amazing.
Yep.
So,
All right. Staff wins.
so staff wins. Big one is single source of truth for degree audits. It's not which one's in whose filing cabinet based on when they talk to their advisor. The registrar's office says this is our single source of truth. They use it to certify graduation. One of the things our registrar staff, notably, even when I was there, very concerned about was referenced earlier, and that is permissions and security and being able to very, very specifically say who has access to what, who can approve what, who can set up certain things. And we could have made that any way we wanted. They've been just incredible at helping us have a variety of roles and options so that our student success coaches can see one thing, our professional advisors can see different things, and it just works so that we're secure, ensuring student privacy, but also able to serve students in a variety of ways. I've mentioned it before. I can't say enough about customer service. There is no other vendor that I will do something like this for. Um, and in 30 years, I have not met any vendor that truly lived up to the customer service promise that our advisor folks do. It's been game changing for us. Um, Updates, every time there are updates, like Paul mentioned earlier, it's not once a year and you just get a whole bunch of dumped white papers and updates. It's kind of incrementally as you go, but they can schedule it with individual campuses. So I don't have to go when another school goes. I can go on my academic calendar when we need to do it and have that, but they give us these great reports and say, we ran it against this many audits and there were no changes in these. We can go ahead and do that update. It's been really, really well received. And then reporting, Paul made a reference to, we can actually run an Excel report. These are the number of students that have registered for the next term that have courses showing in that unapplied section. And so the advisors can review that. Some of them they know about. This student's planning to change their major. It hasn't gone through yet. Or this student's planning to go to graduate school and they want to pick up an extra class that'll help them. some just pick the wrong class. And so if we can redirect them to the right class, then they're not paying for credits they don't need. They don't end up with extra credits. We can accelerate their time to degree. You also can get a report of courses that got moved. So it may be not that it's in unapplied, but maybe it got moved from applied to unapplied. And so that's another big one that we want to be able to see. All kinds of custom reports you can do for degree progress. We had a big stop out project that we did to recruit students back a few years ago. We were able to not only run reports and say, hey, we see that you stopped out, we'd like to invite you back. We were able to pick the top 3 degrees that they were closest to finishing and say, if you pick one of these 3 degrees, you're this close to graduating and we want to help you finish. And we did get students back because of that. And then the speed, they referenced it earlier, but the speed at which these audits and reports run beats anything that I've seen in any of the other kinds of big projects that we do.
Right.
I think that's all of mine. Is that the last slide for mine? Oh, no, the takeaways. Absolutely the best vendor I've ever worked with. I try not to overemphasize that, but I can't say enough. Customer service is excellent. Their response time is great. Their requests, any requests that we've made of them have been taken very seriously and often actually translate into something. I think Richard's going to show you our command your career thing, like I referred to earlier. That was just amazing. We're very proud of that. Institution retains full control of who has permissions, who gets what, how is it set up, what do the widgets look like. It's just incredible how flexible the system is. And the students see their progress immediately. And our main goal is they need to complete their degrees on time. They need to be able to make progress and move on. And so that's been a game-changing win for us, and we just love it.
All right. We have a few thank you, Teresa. We have a few questions
Okay.
that I think I want to save for the end. You have this slide, you've got your contact information on there. So
Anybody's welcome to reach out to me. I'm more than happy to share kind of our story and what we've done. The way we do it may not be the way it works for another campus, but I am confident in saying that Richard and his team can respond to any system. If you can get data out of your system and into their system, they can make it work.
well, so along that same vein, we have a couple SIS related questions. The first one's for you, Teresa, and that is,
Okay.
this is from Bill. Bill would like to know, what SIS did you back out of? Or if you don't want to name names, you don't have to roast
I hope
anybody.
it doesn't get me fired. Workday Student is something that we were trying to get all of the LSU campuses on. It works well for the campuses that were involved in building it and setting it up. We were actually going to lose a lot of issues we had already solved with our SIS, things that we had already taken care of. And we were able to say, we're not going to that right now. Now we have a brand new president in the last 3 days. So whether or not that changes again, I don't know. But a couple of the campuses were able to kind of stay where we are because we are so stable and we're responding to students so well.
Got it. Okay, thank you. All right, so Richard, this next question about SIS is, how does the integration work? What's the automation like? This question from Nicholas. What's the automation like from Advisor to Ellucian or Workday or, Genzabar or any other SIS that's out there?
Yeah, so that's a really broad spectrum question, and the answer is somewhat different depending upon what it is. Right now, LSUA is on Power Campus, so obviously we integrate tightly with Power Campus. We have Genzabar supported integrations with Sonus, J1. If we're talking about Banner, that ends up being very, very custom. Schools configure Banner very, very differently. So we have a query-based integration with Banner, and that ends up being, we definitely do it. We do it well, but it's more work because there is so much custom aspect to that. Anthology, we have literally a 5-minute drop-in integration with Anthology schools. Literally, you get us permissions, read-only permissions to our specified set of data objects, and in 5 minutes, we're getting all your Anthology data into the system. So again, it really varies by not just school, but the SIS ERP, but very fast. And emphasis on real time. We're very interested in, obviously we do giant nightly polls, but we want to do student specific real time polls, and we have numerous events that make those happen. So the data is basically up to the minute in student specific dashboarding and degree audits.
All
Paul,
right.
I see a question there, if I can take from an anonymous attendee. It says, can you show the dashboard options again and what data points are able to be pulled and to be displayed? I just want whatever Richard's going to show you, I can tell you that in addition to what comes kind of out of the box with what they provided us, we've not even touched on all the custom fields that we can add. But what we needed our advisors to be able to see at their top of our audit was their high school GPA, because that impacts what math class they can start in. They needed to know, was their transcript review complete or in progress? Because that changes whether or not they should go ahead and put them in classes or talk more about what the student's experience is. We also list their advisor right there at the top, because students were going here more than they were going to our other system. And so it gave us another place. Anytime we have some new field, we call them up. We say, hey, we'd like to display this at the top of our audits, and it can be done in a day. We just have to send them the data and make sure that we've added it to our file that they're getting.
Yeah, Teresa, to springboard off of that, even that Command Your Career widget that we're going to show, you folks ended up populating milestones data structures
Right.
so that we could actually track that data. Basically, every school that we work with has found that our approach to analytics is superior to whatever they're doing in their SIS. And so we end up getting all kinds of non-degree audit specific data from schools just because they want to be able to do analytics on what is
Right.
really purely SIS data, isn't even related directly to student progress or degree auditing. Just they like our analytics better. So we have numerous infinitely extensible data structures, custom fields, table extensions. We can represent any data you can throw at us and use that to actually populate the analytics.
All right. This is a good jumping off point. Take two. Going to go to demo time. And the first, we're going to pick up where you left off, Richard, because someone has asked if you could show the dashboard options again and what data points are able to be pulled in and displayed in the dashboard and in those widgets. I know that's a softball for you, and so I'm excited to, I'll stop sharing and you could show everybody how that's done.
Okay, very good. Hopefully this time we'll have a winner. So let me know, Paul, are we actually seeing this okay at this point?
You're
Yep.
back.
Okay, very good. Hopefully we're a go this time. So we've referenced repeatedly this Command Your Career widget. And I don't know exactly where I cut off last time, so I just want to emphasize that you're used to seeing a system and thinking that what you see is what you get, and that is not the case with Advisor. Literally, custom dashboarding is our forte. It's a full-blown content management system, and indeed, custom widgets are our forte. So LSUA approached us with wanting to micro-credential across these different credentials. And so they started passing us data in our milestones data object, and we use that to fill in these stars and show students exactly how far along in their pathway they are. So that's just a really quick example of what we can do in the way of custom dashboarding and representation of data in custom formats. So I normally would jump off into auditing at this point, but because it's such a neat segue right now, I think I'm going to go straight at custom reports and widgets and show that, because I want to show you what under the hood is producing that command your career status. So if I go to custom reports, there is that command your career report. And if I actually edit this report, what you're going to see is that it's a super simple query. We're just pulling milestone data for the focused student. Then we employ the Vue.js JavaScript framework and provide you a framework interface for that. And so you actually can do this. Your appropriate staff on site have access to this framework. And so you can use HTML5, JavaScript, and the Vue.js approach to doing things. Here's the little script section. So it's basically Vue breaks things up into template, script, style. We support the ability, you can either just appeal directly to the system-wide styles as they are configured in your theme, or you can go completely off the rails in your styling, but it is sandboxed to this particular widget. So you're able to do anything you want in this particular widget without blowing up system-wide styles. You can even reference system-wide styles and modify them in various ways in the widget. You're not going to blow anything up with the rest of the system.
And Richard,
Yep.
for those of us that might be looking at all this code and thinking, oh, geez, I'm never going to be able to do all that. That's something that you can work with them directly. They can describe
Yes,
exactly.
exactly. So
I have never had to touch any of this. The fact that
yes,
it can't, so just because you can doesn't mean you should, right? That's one of my
doesn't mean
mottos.
you need to.
And you don't have to. And so we do have folks in our IT unit that love this, and I say, this is what I want it to do, and they can make it do it. You don't need to know how to do any of this to make the whole system work for you, or even to set it up.
Yeah, exactly. So the overarching point here is this same framework is exactly what we use when a school comes to us and says, I would like this completely custom data set. I'm not getting exactly what I want out of ad hoc reports. It's maybe really complicated joins or really custom data fields that I want to tie into. We use this exact same framework. This interface that you're seeing right here is what we use to do custom reports for schools and create custom widgets. But we expose this to you as well. So if you have people that are qualified to get into this, you can do everything on your own, or we're happy to do it for you. And we expose our data model, our internal supported APIs. We guarantee that if you stay within our supported APIs, no system updates will break your widgets and custom reports. Now, obviously, if you inspect our API calls in your browser and you start saying, wow, I see what they're doing there, that's pretty cool, I'm going to tie into that. If it's not in the supported APIs reference, we don't guarantee that we won't break our internal APIs. But if you stay within the guardrails, we will never break your widgets or your custom reports.
Perfect.
So that's a super quick and dirty reference into custom reports. That is actually what's producing this widget. Now, it could be anything you want. It doesn't have to be this boxy area with stars. You, in HTML5, for example, in Vue, you could create a flower with petals that are clickable and data in each petal. I mean, you can do whatever you want. HTML5 is super capable. So,
Hey, Richard,
yeah.
just a quick time check. We got about 15 minutes. So
Okay.
I've got one
Perfect.
question that I'm going to use as a jumping off point for the next part of your demo. And the question
Okay.
is, does the audit system allow for building plans for graduation to show how complete degree requirements are over upcoming semesters?
Yes, absolutely.
If so, if so, does that require manual development and editing, or is it automated?
So it is manual in the sense that you're going to have basically an empty student, and you would say, okay, so I'm going to show you, I'm going to give you a plan that is what we think is your optimal way of completing that. Once that is created, you can turn any plan into, you can just say, make a template out of that plan. And so we have, for example, here a little template AAOT that can then be assigned to the current student, or that can be assigned to any student that you wish, or even in batch. So you can have people that, let's say you have a cohort of students that incoming nursing students, for example, you just assign your preferred nursing template to them. It's going to show them your optimal term by term approach to completing that. But then, as you're going to see, it's super easy for students to go in and make modifications to that plan on their own, so they can customize that plan for themselves. And I think I got cut off before I emphasized that we say speed is a feature because it enables us to do things in the system that other systems can't contemplate. So let me actually show that right now. If I say 3, 2, 1, click, it took way longer for the request to do the round trip and literally for the browser to render this audit than the audit to generate. We do many audits a second, so it's very sub-second audits. That means that audits are interactive at a level that other systems can't contemplate. So, for example, talking about planning and templating, if the student said, well, I need to take 4 more units to satisfy this biology track, the student can just click on any node. Any node is interactive, and what the user sees in this node is going to be a function of the node-specific permissions. So typically, you would let students do planning, and if the student clicks plan courses here, that just ran an audit. And so unlike every other system, this is not just putting up a generic course list for students. It is actually saying, for Zebariah, this is the list of classwork that would satisfy this degree requirement. And we were talking about course sectioning. So we're not getting this yet for LSUA, but for other schools, we pull in course section data, so we're able to actually show what a student can do term by term, what's actually being offered. So if the student says, yeah, I'd like to add that, that just runs an audit. So now notice that for Zebariah, there are no more courses applicable into this biology track down here, and it actually shows Zebariah the biology track is satisfied. So Zebariah at this point could say, well, what's not satisfied? Oh, okay, written communications isn't satisfied. If I click this, it just ran an audit. And so it's noting for Zebariah, these classes are the applicable classes for you. Now, we don't have section data for these, but Zebariah could say, well, I'd like to take it in this term. So Zeb says add. And at that point, now that written communications is satisfied. For Zebariah, there are no more applicable classes. So Zebariah can at any time view schedule, see how that weekly schedule is shaping up during this planning process. And so this is our approach to academic planning, in which literally the system is doing audits with every single act of planning. And that is one of the reasons we say speed is a feature. It's not just it's nice to have fast audits. It's that our speed enables us to make academic planning canonical, individualized for each individual student, which is to say then that this little area here that says we're keeping you between the guardrails, we're only going to show you classes that are useful toward your goal. And by the way, all of this text is customizable. Mm-hmm. If the student says, and if you allow it by permission, I want to actually take the guardrails off. I want to do an out of band class. I want to do one that I explicitly know is not going to be degree applicable. Well, that's fine. You can allow them to do that. It'll give them a warning that this may not be eligible for financial aid or be degree applicable. Then they can add whatever they want to their plan. But if we put the guardrails back on, then at that point, now we're running an audit with every single act of planning, which means every single thing the student is doing is guaranteed to be degree applicable. And so when I talk about the creation of plan templates, what I just did is literally what you would do to create an optimal approach to satisfying an entire degree. And then at that point, you end up with a template that you can assign to numerous students. So notice that, yeah, go ahead.
As a parent of two college-age students, I would just like to make the case that we just make that a permanent guardrail lock-on feature.
Yeah, most schools actually do not allow students to uncheck that. They don't even show that area to students because they just want to keep the guardrails on. Because the beauty is the students don't feel the guardrails. From their point of view, they're just saying, well, I need to take 3 units here. What would I like to take there? And it will show them their options. But it's a curated list of options that the system is vetting against all the degree requirements rules simultaneously. And it's contemplating any exceptions that got made on the audit. And so it's actually getting it right for each individual student in real time in a way that no other system even tries to do. So I can very quickly just delete some of these planned classes out of here. And I'm going to do that precisely because I want to show you another feature of Speed is a feature. So if I delete this, now I have an unsatisfied biology track. Well, the system right now is recognizing there are alternate ways to satisfy this particular requirement. So I could do it in any of these different ways. Right now, the system is saying the biology track is optimal. But I happen to know that Zebriah has a bunch of failed physics classes. So let's look at what happens if I actually change the grades on these to be passing grades. So if I change that F to a C, now I'm going to rerun this audit, and we see that the biology track is still optimal. But down here in electives, we're now going to see that that general physics is popping in here into electives. See, before, these were dropping into this lowest section of unsatisfactory in principle classes. And we see there's still 2 more of these physics classes that aren't applying anywhere on the audit. They have nowhere they can go because they are fails. But if at this point I change that F in another class to be a C, suddenly numerous things are going to happen simultaneously. So now I rerun the audit, and now the system says, well, look, now physics is optimal for you. You only need 2 more units in physics, and so you're further along in the physics track. And notice that what it's done now is to drop those biology classes down into electives, which fully satisfies the electives requirement. So now, with physics being the path, physics is further along and electives is fully satisfied. But if I change this final F to a C, and notice that I'm not changing it to A, I'm not like, pushing hard on GPA calculation or anything sporty. I'm just literally changing it to a passing grade. And I rerun the audit at this point. Well, now physics is fully satisfied, but it only took 2 of the 5 credits to do it. So the system intelligently split off the 2 credits there. Down in electives, it found that it's not capped, so it was able to add 3 of the 5 credits here, and that got us further along toward our total credit calculation on the whole audit. So the point is that our system is unique in its AI engine to find optimality even when it is faced with these alternate paths that other systems do not deal with at all or at all well. We can do multiple nested layers. We serve schools that have up to 8 layers of nesting where you have alternate paths and paths within paths and paths within those paths and so on. And the system instantaneously can figure out what the optimal distribution of coursework is, not only across the whole audit, but across the paths. And so it's finding what is optimal for students. And that can be entire minors, for example. It could say, well, you need to take a minor. Here's your optimal minor, all things considered. Again, no other system tries to do that, which is why we say speed is a feature. I could get into exceptions and so forth, but I assume there's additional questions.
Yeah, two questions for you, Richard. So the
Yep.
first one here is this is from Avery, and she says, we have two core tracks, but no place for a student or advisor to identify and mark, in other words, no field, which track a student is in. Do you have any ideas there?
Yeah, so we would actually set those tracks up in our requirements manager to be exactly what you want them to be. The system will find the optimal track for you, for the student. And so, just like what I showed you about it choosing the alternate path, those paths can be extremely complex. They don't have to be simplistic like I just showed you. So Avery, is that actually answering your question?
Yeah, I
Or
think I think this is more about the user experience in terms of having a place for the student or the advisor to mark or select which track a student is in.
oh, yes. So that is precisely what can happen here. So
Right.
if you have alternatives, the student could say, okay, great, you've found that physics is optimal, but I'm not doing physics. I am doing biology. The student can select this and can say, save the path. And it will now make biology be the selected track. Now, if I in turn lock this, and this is something you typically give to advisor or higher level users, not students, but you can give it to students as well. If I lock this and then save that path, that now transcends all audits for everybody and all time for this student for this goal. And so that is that marking that I think you're talking about.
Very good. Okay, the next one is whether or not advisor could be used by incoming or prospective learners.
Yes, absolutely. So if I, for example, we by the way do transfer articulation embedded right into the system. And so if I simply go to this different URL, this is, for example, a prospective student wizard that we've set up. And I see that from some previous demo, I've got that there. It allows students to literally enter in prospective transfer coursework where the student could say, well, I'm coming from Houston Community College. I see we've got a rule for college algebra, and I took that for 4 credits. I took it in this term. I got an A grade on it. I'm going to add that to the transcript. That green checkbox shows that that instantly articulated. And so all of your articulation rules can be in here. Or if you don't use our transfer articulation, we can just get rid of this section, skip this one on the audit. And then the very next point of the wizard is we can show all your different program pathways. And for example, you could just choose this particular one. We even show employment projections and job analysis from Department of Labor here. So students could say, well, I could be a tax preparer with that. And the market's nowhere near saturated. And wow, look, potential over $100,000 in earnings. The student says, yeah, I like that a lot. Let's add that. And we can now save that goal. That is a what if goal now. The student can immediately run an audit on that by saying next. Again, instantaneous degree audit. All of this text here is completely customizable by you. So any messaging you want to give to the student. And at this point, we can actually see how the student's either existing or transfer coursework is actually going to apply to this particular audit. So the student can go back in this wizard, and you're getting the idea. It's a prospective student's wizard that ties into the instant degree audit and our built-in transfer articulation. And this is just one example of the kinds of things that we can do for prospect students that are contemplating coming to your school.
Okay. Well, we're at the top of the hour, and I know people have other meetings and appointments to get to, so let's round this out. Is there anything critical, Richard, that they have to see that you haven't yet shown them?
Yes, I mean, we haven't even begun to touch on the other versions of analytics we have. I would be remiss if I didn't at least show this. So our scheduling report is super cool. It will show for any student cohort the classwork they need to take and a ranked weighted list of how applicable that individual class would be for them. So you can see at a glance the high value coursework that you need to offer in order to get your students through in timely fashion. It will even show the list of students in that cohort along with what their goal is, how far along they are thought of in terms of units. We can simply do canned reports at a level that other systems can't contemplate. It's like I said, speed is a feature. Well, there it is. I could go into way more detail. I would love to do individualized demos for you folks, and we can get into the weeds.
We'll get to that here in 1 second. The very last question is everything that you're sharing, Richard, included in the basic package
Oh, yes.
or add-ons? I don't think
Nope.
we have the concept of packages or modules or anything like that. Yeah.
Nope, we don't. And we've never played that game. All of our pricing is absolutely, you get everything, even our annual license and support fee. We set up your degree requirements for you. We will build reports and analytics for you, always at no additional charge. I know it sounds too good to be true, but it is true. That's part of what I think Teresa will immediately acknowledge. All of our customers will
Yes.
say, yeah, we do not nickel and dime you like other vendors do. We have never played that game. We've been on your side of the table. I was an academic advisor for years, sat on master planning committee, chose software systems. I hated dealing with other vendors. We are not those vendors.
All right. Here's what I want to say. We're not going to have time to field all the remaining questions that we have, and there are a number of them. If you have any questions and we're out of time, type them in, and I will work with Richard and I'll email you back with answers to your questions. So use that Q&A feature, last chance to do so. With that, here's our call to action. I wouldn't be a marketing guy if I didn't have a call to action. Your team is ready to respond. We would love to do a deeper dive demo for each of you. So if you have your phone handy, you can scan that QR code and that will bring up a simple form. You can just drop in your name and email and we'll get right back to you and get you scheduled. After this webinar, I'm going to take the recording, sew it all up, send you all the link, as I said at the beginning. So if you want to share this out to a broader group of compatriots, you're more than welcome to do so. And with that, Teresa, Richard.
Thank you, Teresa, so much. It has been an honor to serve you for the last decade. We
Well,
appreciate you so
thank
much.
you guys. We are customers, and I've made notes of things that I want to talk about getting our system updated too.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So
Wonderful. All right. Thank you, everyone, for coming to our webinar. We hope to talk to you again soon. And with that, have a great rest of your day.
thank you all.
All right. Bye, everyone.